Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. I don't usually go all out for anniversaries. Never been a big fan of over-the-top gestures or elaborate surprises. But I still mark the day. Always have. A good dinner, some candles, maybe her favorite dessert, and a decent bottle of wine. Nothing extravagant, just thoughtful. That's what I had planned this year too. Quiet evening. Just the two of us. It had been 11 years. Not perfect years, but they were ours. We'd gone through some rough patches like any couple, but I thought we were in a decent place. We weren't fighting. We weren't exactly distant either, at least not in a way that set off any alarms. She was a little distracted, sure. Maybe even more on her phone lately, and she'd been going out more than usual with coworkers. But she always had a reason. Work stress, team building. I need this to unwind. I let it go. I trusted her. That afternoon, I got off work early. Stopped by her favorite bakery to pick up that ridiculous raspberry tart she loves. She always says it's too sweet, then eats half of it before dinner's even on the table. I picked up her wine, Pinot, always the red label, not the silver one. And I laid everything out in the kitchen just the way she likes it. Candles lit. Table set. Lights dimmed. I even changed into a clean shirt. I don't know why that detail sticks in my head, but it does. It's like I can still feel the collar pressing against my neck as I waited. 7 o'clock. Nothing. No text. No call. I figured maybe she was stuck in traffic. So I waited. By 8:15, the food had gone cold. The candles were down to stubs. I was still trying to stay calm. She was probably just caught up in something. Maybe her phone died. It happens. Then at 8:42 p.m., she texted me. Not a call. Not a sorry or I'll be home soon. Just a line. I need time off from this marriage. No punctuation. No follow-up. Nothing to soften the edges. Just that. Cold. Blunt. I remember staring at it for a full minute, reading it over and over like it would suddenly change. Like maybe I missed a joke or some inside meaning that would make it okay. But there was nothing cryptic about it. It was clear. Unmistakably clear. She didn't say she wanted a break from work. Or a vacation. Or even space to think. She wanted time off from me from our marriage. And she said it like it was a reasonable, casual thing. Like asking for a long weekend. It was our anniversary. At first, I didn't know what to do. I stared at the wine glass I had poured for her, the condensation running down the sides, untouched. I looked at the tart. Still perfectly intact. No fingerprints, no bite marks. Everything just sitting there like a shrine to a version of our relationship that maybe only existed in my head. I didn't respond. I didn't even text back. I just sat down in the chair across from her empty seat and tried to breathe through it. The silence in the house that night was louder than any argument we'd ever had. And that's when something shifted. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't punch a wall or throw a glass. No drama. No theatrics. Just silence. Because deep down, something about her message didn't feel impulsive. It didn't read like a sudden outburst or a moment of stress. It felt planned. Rehearsed. I knew right then that this wasn't about needing space. Something else was going on. And whatever it was, she thought I was too distracted or too passive to notice. But she was wrong. That night, as I blew out the candles and packed away the uneaten tart, I didn't just feel sadness. I felt curious. And I decided that before I said a single word to her about that message, I was going to find out exactly what she meant by it. Because I had a feeling she didn't want time off. She just wanted time without consequences. But she was about to learn that I had my own timeline, and I didn't need to raise my voice to make a statement. The next morning, she acted like the message had never happened. She was already up, dressed, sipping her usual black coffee by the window, phone in one hand, legs crossed like it was just another Thursday. She glanced up at me and gave me this neutral little nod, like she was greeting a neighbor, not the man she just asked to pause their entire marriage. I waited for something, an explanation, a continuation, even a follow-up text. But she gave me nothing. So I said nothing. And maybe that's when I realized just how done I was with giving people the benefit of the doubt when they clearly didn't deserve it. I left for work, but my mind wasn't anywhere near my office. I couldn't stop thinking about how confident she looked, how unbothered. Like she already knew I'd just roll over, wait for her to decide when she wanted to come back to this marriage. But I wasn't going to wait. I wasn't going to react either. That's exactly what she'd expect. Rage, accusations, begging. I gave her none of it. Instead, I started paying attention. That weekend, she said she was going to a wellness retreat. Nothing unusual. She'd done that before, or at least claimed to. But this time, I watched her more carefully. She packed light. Too light. Just a small duffel bag and her laptop, which didn't make sense for a retreat. And the clothes? Let's just say they didn't scream spa weekend. High heels. New lingerie tags still on them. She even double-checked her makeup kit before zipping it up. I didn't say a word. "Don't wait up," she said casually on her way out the door. "No kiss." "No, I love you." "No, I'll call you." I nodded. "Take all the time off you need." She smiled at that. I wasn't smiling. After she left, I sat down at my desk and pulled up our shared bank account. Nothing seemed off at first, just a few grocery store transactions, gas station charges. Then I saw a name I didn't recognize. The Walden, $287.94. Hotel. Booked a week ago. I clicked on it, pulled up the location. Not near any spa or wellness center. Just a sleek boutique hotel downtown. So I checked her email, the one still signed in on our shared desktop in the home office. Nothing recent. Smart. She'd probably switched to her work laptop for anything she didn't want me seeing. But she missed something. Her calendar. She had it synced between devices and never disabled notifications. I clicked through the weekend schedule. A single entry. Dinner. P. 7:30 p.m. Walden Bar and Lounge. P? I had a pretty good idea who P might be. Not the name, but the role. The next day, I dug a little deeper. Her phone bill, still bundled under my name. I pulled up the online usage details and found a number she'd been texting dozens of times a day. No name assigned, but the frequency was enough to raise red flags. Sometimes late at night. Sometimes right after our conversations. Sometimes during work hours, long threads of back and forth. I called it from a blocked number. Straight to voicemail. Male voice. Young. Confident. Casual. Like someone who wasn't afraid of being caught. I didn't leave a message. I didn't need to. I wasn't even angry at that point. Just focused. The pieces were all floating around. I just needed to pull them together and confirm what I already suspected. I started planning. There was no need to confront her yet. That would give her time to twist the story, gaslight me, or play the "you're paranoid" card. I wanted the truth. But more than that, I wanted clarity. So that Sunday, I told her I was going out of town for a quick site visit for work. Overnight project review, I said. Late Sunday, back Monday afternoon. She barely blinked. Drive safe, she muttered without even looking up from her phone. That sealed it. I wasn't going anywhere. She thought she had a wide open window, and I was going to let her walk right through it, straight into the truth she thought she buried. But this wasn't about catching her in the act. It was about watching her walk herself into it. And once she did, I'd be waiting. Not with raised voices. Not with tears. But with a pen. And a folder. And the first signature on a set of divorce papers. Sunday evening came fast. It always does when you're planning something quietly. When every move has to look casual. Innocent. Invisible. I waited until she left first. She didn't seem nervous, not even a little off. No guilt. No hesitation. That alone told me everything I needed to know. Her hands moved confidently, zipping the duffel, checking her lipstick in the hallway mirror. Not for me. For him. Her eyes barely met mine when she walked out, muttering, "I'll be back late tomorrow." I think I actually smiled when I responded. "Take all the time off you need." She didn't even blink. That was the last confirmation I needed. Once I heard the door close and her car pull away, I gave it 5 minutes, then walked out the back and slid into my car. I'd already packed a hoodie and a baseball cap, nothing dramatic, just enough to not stick out. I checked the parking lot layout of the Walden on Google Maps 3 days ago. I knew which direction she'd likely enter from and where I could wait without being seen. 23 minutes later, I was parked across the street. Not directly in front, but angled at a nearby cafe that had already closed. I killed the engine and lowered the seat, hands resting on the steering wheel, just watching. The Walden wasn't some big hotel chain. It was quiet, upscale, deliberately discreet. A place for affairs, not honeymoons. No bellboys, no crowds. Just a sleek awning, gold-lettered signage, and glass doors that stayed shut until a guest approached with a keycard or a confident lie. At 7:28 p.m., she showed up. Right on schedule. Black dress. Heels I hadn't seen in 2 years. Hair curled at the ends, something she used to do when she cared about how she looked around me. I felt nothing. She paused by the front steps, checked her phone, then looked up. And there he was. Tall. well-dressed, just a bit too polished to be a coworker grabbing drinks. The way he walked up to her, how naturally she leaned into his chest when he placed a hand on her back. It was like watching two people who had done this before. I took a photo, zoomed in, captured it clearly. The small touch, the closeness, the look she used to save for me. I could have confronted her right then. Walked across the street, shoved the phone in her face, made a scene. But there's no power in chaos. Only noise. I wanted her to fall into the illusion fully. I watched them walk in together. She glanced over her shoulder once, but not in a paranoid way, just enough to check the reflection in the hotel window, adjusting her lipstick again. That's when I realized she wasn't afraid of being seen. She didn't think she could be caught. In her mind, I was nowhere near suspicion. She thought I was home, waiting. That made it easier. I followed them into the hotel 5 minutes later, keeping my distance. It was quiet inside. 2 men in suits by the bar, a woman reading near the fireplace. I didn't approach the counter. Just took a seat near the lobby's side entrance and opened my phone. Pretended to scroll. Watched through the bar mirror behind the counter. They were seated in a booth in the back. Dim lighting. Red wine. I saw her laugh. Not the forced smile she'd give me after dinner. Not the smirk I got in the night I brought home that new mattress she insisted on. No, this was genuine, open, easy laughter. The kind that said she'd forgotten who she was lying to. He touched her hand on the table. She didn't pull away. I stayed for 23 minutes. Long enough to watch the wine disappear, for her to tuck a lock of hair behind her ear while leaning in, the way she always used to do when she was flirting. I took another photo, then one more. The bartender brought them something. I didn't catch what it was, but she smiled like a teenager on her first date. When they stood to leave, I didn't follow. I already knew where they were going. Her email confirmation from earlier in the week, forwarded from her work account to our shared inbox by accident, contained a booking number for room 309. King Suite. One night. Late checkout. She never deleted the forwarded copy. That was her mistake. I waited 5 minutes after they disappeared into the elevator, then walked out, calm, composed, and utterly sure of what I was about to do next. This wasn't rage. This wasn't betrayal laced with confusion. This was precision. She thought she had power in silence, that I wouldn't notice, wouldn't act. What she didn't realize is that I'd been silent, too. Not because I was blind, because I was planning. And soon, the next silence she'd hear would be the kind that follows the words, "You've been served." By Monday morning, she was back. Not early, not late, just conveniently timed. Like she had planned it all down to the last possible detail. She walked in with a coffee in her hand, hair still done, makeup slightly faded, and that same bag over her shoulder like it hadn't just been used to help her cheat on her husband. "Morning," she said casually. "Morning," I replied, just as casually. She didn't even flinch. Didn't look for clues in my voice or check my eyes for suspicion. She didn't notice I was watching her, measuring her, memorizing the way she lied by simply existing beside me like everything was fine. She headed into the shower. I waited until I heard the water running, then turned back to the documents on my laptop. The night before, after I left the hotel, I didn't go home. I went to a diner, ordered a black coffee I barely touched, and pulled out my phone. The photos I had taken were more than enough. I had timestamps, location metadata, even the credit card transaction for the room she thought I'd never find. But again, this wasn't about proving infidelity. In our state, you don't need cause to file for divorce. No fault was easier, cleaner, less time in court. All I needed was clarity, and now I had it. So I emailed an attorney I'd quietly vetted 6 months ago when things first started feeling off. He responded within the hour. I forwarded him the photos, the bank charges, the text she'd sent me on our anniversary, just for documentation's sake. No legal smoking gun, but more than enough to crush any narrative she might try to spin. By the time she stepped out of the shower wrapped in a towel, I had already scheduled a notary appointment for Thursday, a process server for Friday, and a surprise she would never forget. Because here's the thing, next week, we were supposed to have a vow renewal dinner. She had planned it months ago. Said she wanted to reignite the flame. Booked a small dinner at one of those trendy, overpriced restaurants she loved. Told her friends we were stronger than ever. She even hinted that she wanted to post something sentimental online that night. At the time, I thought she was just trying to fix things. Maybe overcompensating for her distance. Now, I saw it for what it was: insurance. A way to make herself look blameless if she chose to leave first. A soft landing for her public image. That dinner? I wasn't canceling it. I was going to attend, sit across from her, smile, nod, pretend, and then she'd be served, right at the table, in front of her curated audience, not out of spite, but as punctuation. She wanted to use that night to rewrite our story. I was going to end the chapter instead. All week, I kept my routine exactly the same. I made coffee, went to work, texted her back, laughed at the right moments. She had no idea the ground beneath her was already shifting. She even started acting sweeter, touches on the arm, calling me babe again, offering to make dinner one night. Guilt, I assume. Or maybe panic. Like she could feel something was off, but couldn't quite name it. I let her think it was working. I watched her dance around the edge of discovery, trying to patch holes in a ship that had already sunk. On Friday morning, the final document arrived, a sleek folder from my attorney, sealed and ready. I kept it tucked in the inner pocket of my blazer. That evening, we arrived at the restaurant. She wore red. Of course she did. She always saved red for moments when she wanted all the attention in the room. She looked good, honestly. The kind of good that makes people glance twice. And she knew it. She fed off it. The hostess recognized her, smiled, and led us to the table she had requested, center of the room, perfect lighting, just enough exposure to make sure everyone knew who the night was about. She leaned over and whispered, "I'm glad we're doing this." I smiled. Me too. She beamed. I didn't. We ordered wine. She made a toast. Talked about the past, how far we'd come, how grateful she was. I nodded at the right times. I clinked my glass with hers. I even let her take a photo of us, though I knew she wouldn't be posting it. Not after what was coming. Exactly halfway through the main course, just as she was cutting into her salmon, the server appeared at our table with a silver tray and a small envelope. "Delivery for Mrs. Langston," he said. She blinked, confused. "For me?" "Yes, ma'am." She took it with a slight laugh, clearly expecting something silly. A joke gift. A reservation mix-up. Something she could turn into another toast-worthy story. She opened it. The smile dropped. Silence. Her eyes darted from the papers, then to me. "What is this?" she said, her voice tight. "You said you needed time off," I replied calmly, picking up my wine glass. "So I gave you all of it." The silence that followed was absolute. She looked around, first at the server, then the surrounding tables, then back to me. Her lips moved like she wanted to say something, but nothing came out, because there was nothing left to say. She didn't speak for a long time, just stared at the documents like they were written in a language she didn't understand. But I saw it. That flicker behind her eyes, panic, disbelief, and something else too, something colder, calculation. Like her mind was scrambling for the best way to spin this. Maybe she thought she could flip it around, make me look crazy, salvage her image. But none of those gears were turning fast enough, because she wasn't in control anymore. She folded the papers slowly, hands trembling just slightly, and set them down on the table. "You're divorcing me? On our renewal dinner?" I tilted my head, resting my palm over the stem of my wine glass. "Well, you said you needed time off. I just formalized it." A couple at the next table shifted uncomfortably. A waiter paused mid-step. The entire room could feel the temperature change. She leaned forward, her voice low and sharp. "This is humiliating." "No," I said quietly. "What you did was humiliating. This is clarity." Her mouth opened like she was ready to spit something venomous, but the words caught. Maybe she realized she couldn't play the victim while still wearing the same lipstick from her hotel night. Or maybe she finally saw what I had known for days. There was no way out of this that didn't end with her exposed. I stood up slowly and laid my napkin across the table, exactly where she'd set her phone. She flinched as I reached for my coat, like she expected me to throw one last accusation, maybe call her names or drag the affair into public. But I didn't need to. She was already unraveling. The quiet unraveling hurts the worst. No yelling. No storm. Just the slow realization that someone you thought was waiting at the finish line is already walking off the field. I pushed my chair in, turned to the waiter, and said, "The check's already covered." She whispered my name as I passed her, as if that would change something. It didn't. I walked out into the cool evening air, calm as ever. And behind me? Chaos. I heard her voice, tight, frantic, trying to explain something to the hostess. I heard a glass shatter. Someone asked if she was okay. I didn't look back. Because I was. For the first time in a long time. I really was. But there was another path I could have taken. If I'm honest, sometimes I wonder what might have happened if I'd lost control. If I had walked into that hotel lobby and confronted them. If I grabbed him by the collar, slammed a fist into his smug jaw, and demanded answers she couldn't twist her way out of. I imagine her frozen in shock. Him trying to play innocent. Me, for once, letting all the anger out in front of a crowd, just to see how far her lies would get her in public. But I know how that ends. She'd have turned it on me. Look how aggressive he is, she'd say. See what I've been dealing with? The story would be mine to carry, not hers. She'd cry in court, say she feared me, use that single outburst to erase a decade of sacrifice. And somehow, she'd still be the one walking away with sympathy. No, that ending's not for me. I've often imagined a different outcome, one where I said nothing at all, where I let the message slide, didn't check the credit card statement, didn't park across the street, just swallowed it all and stayed quiet, like too many husbands do. Maybe I'd still be in that marriage right now, playing the part of a man unaware. Watching her walk in late, smelling like someone else's cologne and lying about meetings I never asked about. She'd think she got away with it, and maybe I'd let her. I'd die slowly inside, bit by bit. The kind of death no one writes about, where a man stops believing in loyalty or love or even himself. But I'd still be married, right? Still holding on to a ghost. That ending? That one terrifies me the most. The truth is, I didn't win anything that night. This wasn't victory. It was release. Freedom. The kind you only get when you finally understand your silence has been taken for weakness, and your love, your loyalty, has been treated like an option instead of a gift.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.